Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Benedict here again from Jagigan Company Sheets, and today I want us to talk about how we can format our financials using Excel Writer. But before then, I want us to go through where we started and where we've reached, and then we'll continue with the formatting the financials. So let me just take you back to where we were doing our Python code. So before we do the formatting, you must first import the module called Excel Writer, which is already here. So let me just take you through to where we started and where we've reached, and then we'll continue from there. So when we started with this Excel workbook, of where we have the YTD sheet. We also have volume, we have budget _1, we have budget, we have asset changes, we have loan and investments. So within YTD Excel sheet, we had various columns. We had financial year, quarter, month. We also had period. We had TB item, category, ledger, sub-ledger, debit and credit. And then from there we also had volume. So volume just the metric tons of items that have been sold. So where I've marked in yellow, so I was just trying to show you that when you are doing the budgeting, or rather when you are doing the actual sales, you'll have to categorize each sub-ledger of item that has been sold. So it becomes easy when you are comparing what you've sold actually against the budget. So this was rather in the period 2016 December, we had a volume of sales in terms of the sub-ledger items from AA_B to DD_A. And then these are the monthly periods. We only just had accumulated figures, or rather the summative figures in terms of volumes. So in period January, February, March, you can see we don't have these sub-ledger categories, but we just have the sales volume. So when we go to budget, we had this budget Excel sheet, of which also we had various columns. So the columns here were financial year. We had quarter. We also had month. We had a period. We had a category, ledger, sub-ledger, and value. So before I move on to the next exercise, let me just try to explain the columns. The columns here, we have category, have ledger and sub-ledger. So the category here is the main heading of the sub-ledgers, or rather of the ledgers, and then the ledger is also the heading of the sub-ledger. So the sub-ledger, the final details of the category and the ledger, and then of course we have the values, the numerical values of the sub-ledger items. And of course we also have the financial year, we have the quarter, we have the month, then we have the period. So the period here is in numerical value, and then the month here is in form of text, and then of course we have quarter 1 up to quarter 4. Then so this was the unpivoted budget, which came from this other budget. This was the original budget. So from the original budget, we had January up to December, so that was a full year budget. And then we had these particulars, and within the particulars we had the sales volume, we had sales, cost, opening stock, purchases, and all that. And then we also had these calculated rows. So the calculated rows, we have cost of sales, we have gross margin, net margin, direct, rather total indirect expenses, and these are the calculated row items up to PBT. So before we unpivoted the budget, we had to delete all these calculated rows is then we unpivot these columns. So the columns that were unpivoted was from January up to December. And then the full year column was deleted before we unpivoted. So the unpivoting, we are using Power Query editor to unpivot the columns. So again, we also had asset changes. So asset changes, we also have the various columns from financial year, the quarter, month, period, category, ledger, sub-ledger. Then we also have cost, cumulative depreciation. We have the net book values, and we also have the values. So the mandatory columns here that we must have that must tie with what we have in these other Excel sheets are the financial year, the quarter, the month, the period, category, sub-ledger, and ledger plus the value. So these columns are key to what we need to do when we are doing the financial automation. Then lastly, we had the loan and investments. So under loan and investments, we also had these other key columns: financial year, quarter, month, period, category, ledger, sub-ledger. Then of course we also had the value. So the cost element, adjustment elements, we have these columns, yes, but they are not key to our financial automation. But when we are reading this Excel, we'll read all these columns, but we'll drop these other necessary columns from our Excel code. So from here now we went to we did the Python code, which we started by reading these columns, rather reading the Excel sheets. So we started with data. So data here was reading the TB file, and then the Excel sheet that we were reading was YTD. So the TB file is the whole Excel workbook, but then we have quite a number of sheets. So the first sheet is YTD. The sheet name here is YTD, and then put the same in a data frame, and then we rename the category called closing stock to current assets. So again, when we come down here, we have data V to mean data volume. But before we continue, let me just take you back to where we did our trial balance. So within our trial balance, we have all the P&L items and the TB items. And when you check down, you can see I have a balance sheet stroke P&L. So the closing stock here is both for balance sheet and P&L. But now when we extract our balance sheet, we never extract our balance sheet with the closing stock. So the closing stock here is just an additional, these are additional rows to the trial balance. So after extracting your trial balance, you'll come again with this closing stock and add it down here to the trial balance. So this one is for period of January, the whole of January. Then we also have for the periods of February up to December. So this is 2017. So I just wanted to take note on that when we're dealing with the closing stock, when you are extracting trial balance. So this is part of the data, but when you extract the trial balance will always come without this closing stock. So the closing stock will extract from the trading account, then we'll put these values under the trial balance, such that now when you try to tally your trial balance in terms of debit and credit balances, so you will not consider the closing stock down here, but you will consider the figures up here before the closing stock. So that's all about the closing stock within this template for trial balance. So let me take you back to where we did our Python code. So I was talking about the data V. To mean this one we were reading the volume. So these are the sales volume in terms of metric tons. And then we also have data B. So data B is this one, budget. So we are only reading the budget _1. This was the unpivoted budget. Then again we also have data assets. And then from data assets we also have loan and investment. Then from there now we what we did, we just a moment. Within the trial balance we had debit balances, or rather we had the credit items with debit balances. So we were turning those debit balances for credit items to negative. So this is what we did, and we had a code here to turn the debit credit items with the debit balances negative. Then again we also turn debit items with credit balances negative. And then we came down and also selected credit items with credit balances, and we did as well selected debit items with the debit balances. And then from there we concatenated the data frames. So we made a single data frame from that V, TB1, TB2, TB3 and TB4. So this was made into a single data frame through concatenation. Then we sort the values in terms of the first column of financial year, so such that when we print our data frame, the values will be aligned in terms of the financial years. If financial year is 2016, it will be the first, followed by 2017, then 2018, as we move on. Then again we also did a code where we stripped the leading spaces and leading and lagging spaces from our data frame. So this is to mean that when you have your data here, like now what we have in our ITD, within this text, within these columns, or rather within the values within this template, you could be having spaces before and after the text, or before and after the value. So that's what we are trying to do here by stripping the leading and lagging spaces. And then after that we did put the same data frame. Then from there we had the pandas, or rather the display options within pandas. So we are saying that pd.options.display float is equal to so we have the curly brackets here with the colon and comma. So .2f to mean 2 decimal places, then we format. So these were display options in terms of what we need to be displayed for values for number of decimal places. So again we also had the display option for the width of the columns. So this one we want the maximum width. So we are saying pd.options.display.width is equal to 0. So this will display the whole width within the columns of our pandas data frames. And again we moved on to create the user inputs. So user inputs here, we are talking about the period number and the financial year. So the period number here will mean the month. The financial year is just the financial year as it is. So the period number, we are saying that input, int to mean integer, in bracket input. So we are asking the user to enter the period number. Then the financial year also, the principle applies. So after that we came up with the function, and so our function here was called the main. So here we have def main. So within this function is where now we had all our variables, we had all our calculations of the financials from P&L to balance sheet, then not the financial statements. So we started with creating the variables for current financial year, of which we did the variables for January up to December. And within these variables, we had monthly variables, and we also had the cumulative variables. So the cumulative variables were meant to for calculation of the P&L accumulated figures. The same applies to cash flow and balance sheet. So we had for January, we had for January data, and then we also had for cash flow. We had for January monthly. So this was data meant for calculation of monthly figures for the periods, and then we also had for data assets. We had for loan and investments, and then from there now we also did opening stock variables. So this is still within the financial, the first period, January. And then for opening stock, we did for monthly figures and cumulative figures. Then we later did for closing stock, and closing stock also we had for monthly figures and cumulative figures. So all this we did for January up to December. Then from there we moved to prior period variables. So prior period variables, the same principle applied. So these were prior financial year variables. So we did for January to December. So what was differentiating between prior financial figures and current financial figures was this LY, to mean last year. And then we also had budget variables, and then the budget variables were just for the whole year within a given financial period. So these were budget variables. So the same principle applied from January up to December. So I'm talking of January up to December because I'm considering the first period of my financial year is January. So when your financial year is starting from March, so your first period will be March. So the value 1 will represent March in terms of period number. And then we had the period input. So period input here we are talking about period 1, period 2, period 3 up to period 12. So we started with where we have where the user is putting a 0 as a period number. So we are telling the user to put the correct period here. So we are saying if period number is less than or equal to 0, print start again and enter correct period number, e.g. Jan is 1, Feb is 2, March is 3, etc., etc. So we continued where we are saying that else if period number is 1. So when period number is 1, we had the variables for period number 1. So we had the opening stock variables for cumulative figures. We also had for individual months, so this was to mean monthly figures. And then we also had a closing stock for cumulative figures. So the closing stock is a combined closing stock for January, the current period, the YTD period, the previous period in terms of a month, then the previous period in terms of accumulated figures, then the previous figures in terms of total figures of the previous financial year. Then of course we also had the cumulated figures for the budget, and then we also did for monthly figures. and then we moved to P&L data. From P&L data, we had P&L data cumulative figures, and then we also had for monthly figures. Then we moved to these are the variables for data, or the data underscore BS to mean balance sheet. We had for cash flow. We had for data assets, and then we also had for loan and investments. Then from there we did all the variables for other period inputs from period 1 to period 12. And then after having the period inputs is now when we did the calculation of or the generation of financial statements from P&L cumulated to cash flow financials. So we started with the opening stock, purchases, closing stock. So here we are trying to determine the cost of sales. So before you get the cost of sales, you must have these variables for opening stock, purchases, and then closing stock. And we later did our cost of sales down here, and then again we did the calculation, or rather the creation of the data frame for sales volume. And later we came and did the gross margin or gross loss. Then from there we did this data frame for direct expenses, and we did the net margin. Getting the net margin, then we came and did the data frame for other income or indirect income. Then we got our total income. Then from there we did the indirect expenses. Then from the indirect expenses we get our earning before interest, depreciation and tax. Then later we calculated we did the data frame for interest. Then from interest we got our earnings before depreciation, amortization and tax. Then from here we moved to doing the data frame for depreciation and amortization. And then finally we came with our profit before tax. So this was meant for YTD, that's mean year to date. Then we also did our PBT with rather monthly PBT. But before doing the monthly PBT, we had also these schedules. These schedules were meant for referencing the finer details that relate to what we portray within our income statement. So we had the schedules A1, up to A7. Okay. So A1 was about the sales volume. So this was meant for sales volume. Then we had A2 to give us sales. Then we went to A3, which was to give us cost of sales. We moved to A4 to give us direct expenses. So these were the final details for direct expenses. And then we moved to A5. A5 was to give us indirect expenses. And later we came to other income, A6. And lastly we did interest. So these were the notes to our P&L. So from there we mapped these notes to the financial statement using this code here. See this code called ref. This code where we have a variable called ref data. So this way we were creating a data frame for referencing to our P&L, and then we came down and mapped that data frame with our P&L cumulative figures, so that we can have A1 up to A7 show the final details of the line items that we have within our P&L. So we did not do PBT work, but this is just to show the movement of PBT. So this one I did, but I never showed you how it was done. So this is not very necessary, but if necessary we'll come back to it. So after having done the accumulated P&L, we did monthly P&L. So monthly P&L is talking about monthly figures from January, February, March up to December, and the same principle that we applied in doing our YTD and P&L. So the same principle that we apply in doing our monthly P&L. What differs is the variables that we use in monthly P&L. And then from there we did our balance sheet. So down here we have our balance sheet, so which we started with the current assets. From current assets we moved to current liabilities. So this is the normal procedure of doing generating a balance sheet. Then we came later to have our net current assets. We did our net current and non-current assets as well. Then net fixed assets, we came with intangible assets. Then from there we also did a net intangible assets. Then we came with the total non-current assets. Then later we had our total net assets, and then of which from there now we had our non-current liabilities. Then from non-current liabilities now we can have our total funds deployed. Okay, then from total funds deployed we must compare this with the total owner's equity, which we also did down here to come up with the full statement of our balance sheet. So this was all about the balance sheet. And then from there also we did the schedules for our balance sheet. So the same principle that we applied in doing the schedules for our income statements is the same principle that we applied when doing the schedules for our balance sheet and cash flow. So with the balance sheet schedules and cash flow schedules, we had S1 from cash and bank balances to S12, which S12 is PPE. But PPE we did not have, we just had a blank data frame because PPE is always comprehensive and needs to be done separately. So what we did here for S12, just to reference PPE, such that one will just go to where PPE is and see what is making the PPE. Then from there we did our cash flow. So this was just scroll back a bit. So this was our cash flow statement. So cash flow, we did it up to the level where we are having our the ending cash balances. Okay, so this was the whole code for doing the cash flow. And then we also mapped we also mapped the schedules with our cash flow statement. So the mapping was done down here, and from there now we are trying again to create the heading within our cash flow where we had where we have adjustments for. In that row from a schedule column to total last year, we were creating blank cells. So this we did for adjustment for working capital changes, investment activities, financing changes, current assets and current liabilities. So down here, these are the financial statements that we did. So before we move on to formatting the financials using Excel writer, so let me just print we see what we have as the financials. So I will run this code. For the period, let me try to use period 12 to show a comprehensive statement that we did for all these financial statements. So I'll use period 12. Then the financial year here, let me use 2017. So let me just scroll back and show you what we did. So we started the YTD P&L. So this is P&L year to date. So this is up to December 2017. So we had the ledger column. So these are just the particulars, and then we have the annex. So the annex is to reference the schedules, and then we have the period actual. Period actual now in this case is the period for December. Then we have the budget for December, and then the YTD actual is now the period from January up to December. Then YTD budget is the values for our budget from January to December. And then we also had the difference, period difference. The period difference here will be the difference of December budget and the actual figures in December. And then we had the YTD budget. The YTD budget here is the total figures from January to December for both budget and the actual figures. So we get the difference. And then we also had a period last year. So period last year here will mean the December last year. So this is December 2016. And then we also had YTD last year to mean the whole period of December 2016. You remember our trial balance was starting from December 2016. So we did not have the figures for January up to November. So that's why you are seeing the period last year and YTD last year the same. And then of course we also had the total last year. So this one is also the same because we only had 1 month for 2016, which was December. Then we came down here. Further down here we have this is P&L monthly. This is just a typo error. It would be P&L monthly. So this one is running from January up to December, and then it's also showing us the values of quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And then of course we also have the total figures for the whole period. So that is YTD. And then down here we have balance sheet. So balance sheet, we have ledger, we have the schedule column, we have the YTD actual, we have the YTD last year, and then we also have the total last year. So YTD last year will mean that when the period is maybe March, we'll have the values up to March, and then total last year will give us the total values from January to December. So this is okay for comparative figures when you are comparing the values that for the actual figures as you move on to the to other periods. So you compare the actual figures with the previous year figures in total and in YTD. Again, down here we had and before then we also had totals within our balance sheet, rather the headings, not totals but the headings. So we have current assets, we have current liabilities, we also have non-current assets, and then down here we have total funds deployed, and you can see our total funds deployed is tying with the total owner's equity. Then from there we have our cash flow statement. So this is our cash flow statement. So also cash flow statement, we have headings, we have ledger column, schedule column, we have YTD actual, and then total last year, and then we also have this heading for adjustment for. We have the current assets, and then from current assets we have current liabilities, we have investing activities, we have financing activities, and then of course we have the ending cash balances. So the ending cash balance should tie with what we have within our balance sheet. So when we compare this with what we have as cash balances within our balance sheet should tie. So these two values, values are tying with what we have within our cash flow. So these were the financial statements. So what we need to do is to do the format such that when we print this financial statement within our Excel, they should appear like what we have here. So this is P&L YTD, it is P&L monthly, we have balance sheet, we have cash flow, and then we have the schedules from A1 to S12. Here we have S11, but we should have S12. So let me take you to back to where we are doing a Python code. So now we need to show how we can format the financials. So before we format the financials, I will start with the company title. So company title is what should appear on top of our Excel sheet. So here we should have the title of the company and the notes, rather the period and the year. So we have here 2017, and then here we are saying notes to financial statements. So when you come to P&L, we are saying it is statement for the period April 2017. So first we are trying to create the heading, but before we create the heading, we are coming here with these variables. We have months in a year. So months in a year we have none to mean 0. Then we have January, February up to December. Then we have months, rather month in number, which is 0 up to 12. Then we have period number. So period number we are trying to reference both months in a year and months. So we are saying period number is equal to months in a year in bracket month. So month here is 0 up to 12. Then period number. So the period number that we'll put here, that the user will put here, will mean that when we put 1 here, it will pick January. When we put February, it will. When we put 2, it will pick February. When we put 3, it will pick March. So it's like indexing. So we are trying to index the months in a year using the month variable. So the month variable here we have a list. So the list here is what we are trying to use to index the months within a year. So when we choose 0, it is none. When we choose 2, it is February. But the 2 or 1 that we are choosing is being chosen within the period number. So this one is from the user input. Then down here we need to create a heading, and the heading here is starting with the company name underscore P&L. So underscore P&L to mean we are creating the heading for P&L, and then we are saying company underscore P&L. Just a moment. Company underscore P&L is equal to pd.dataframe. So we are putting what we are trying to put within a data frame is We are putting a dictionary within the data frame. So we are saying that XYZ company limited. Then this is the label now. So the label, under that label we have this is a column label, and then under that column label we have a P&L statement for period, and then down here again we have another blank label. Under this blank label again we have period number, and then the next again, or rather next, we also have another blank label, and then under that blank label we have year input. So after creating this dictionary, we put it under data frame, and then that's the title. So we created this for company, rather P&L YTD. We also have P&L monthly, and then we also have for BS. We have for CF, mean cash flow, and then lastly we have for notes to the financial statements. So let's try and print this heading for our financials. So here we'll print print company underscore name P&L. So we'll run this code. Not blank, but the company title. Let me print print in bracket so what we have here, we are printing the company should be outside. Company name, company underscore name, and L. So let's run this. It's a bit slow. The period is period 2, financial year is 2017. So other than the financials, so this is what we have as rather what will appear on top of this data frames. We'll have XYZ company limited, P&L statement for period. So this one is for P&L, and then we also have for balance sheet, we have for cash flow, and then we also have for the notes to the financial statements. So after creating all these, creating the headings for all these data frames, down here we'll come and now start formatting the data frames. So let me just try to uncomment formatting down here. So this is the format, rather we are saying that we are starting with the writer. So the writer is Excel writer. So we are saying that writer is equal to PD Excel writer. Then so we are naming the workbook as financials. So the workbook where we need to write these financials is called financial. This is the name, and then the engineer is Excel writer. Then now we are saying that convert the data frame to an Excel writer Excel object, rather Excel writer Excel object. So first we are starting with company name underscore P&L to Excel. Then we are saying in bracket writer, and then from there we have index is equal to false, then sheet name is P and L, then row is 0. So we are starting to write the company name from row 0. So row 0 here, when you come to Excel writer here, the row 0, when you come to Excel workbook, row 0 here should be where we have this A, B, C, D. So that's where the row 0 is. And row 1 is where you can see we have 1, 2, 3, all that values. So again, we are saying that level 10, let's copy and L to Excel, then writer index is false, sheet name is P and L YTD, start row is 3. So start row is 3 because we are starting after having written the company title or the company name. So when I take you back here, so we are saying that we need to write the data frame for P and L from row 3. So the first row here is this 0 row, and from the 0 row we have here this row 1, 2, and row 3. So row 3 here is now where we are starting with the ledger, the annex, and all that. So we are starting after row 3, that is. So we count 1, 2, 3, and after 3 is now when we start writing our data frame for P and L. So from there now we also have this one for P and L monthly. Then the same principle applies. Then we also have for a balance sheet, the same principle applies. And then we also have for a cash flow, so the same principle applies. So you can see for cash flow we are starting from monthly P and L, you're starting from row 2. The same applies to a balance sheet. The same applies to cash flow. So let me take you back to Excel so you can see the difference of what we have here. When I take you to P and L, now you can see the P and L monthly. You can see we have we are writing the data frame for monthly P and L from the third row. So we are saying we are starting after row 2. So let me take you back. You can see we are starting start row is 2. So start row is 2 because we are counting from 0, 1, 2. So from 0, 1, 2 we'll have counted 3 rows, 0, 1, 2. So our start row will start from these 3, row 3. So this will be 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. 0, 1, 2. After counting 0, 1, 2, we'll start from row 3. So back to our Excel other Excel writer. So let me try to uncomment this other code. So this other code is meant for these are meant for notes to the financial statements. So this one is for P and L, and then these other ones we have for balance sheet and cash flow. So before we move on, let me just try and print and we see what we have. So again, I will run this code. Let me use period 6, financial year 2017. So now I will when I take you back to where the code that we wrote, you can see here the name for this Excel workbook was financials. I will come here under financials automation. Look for the Excel where we have financials. We'll double click that. So apparently this is what we have. Let me just try to make it more appealing. So this is what we have. So this is the data frame that we have for P&L. This is still not formatted. We just have a data frame. And then the same applies to P&L monthly. So I selected the period June, so that's why you can see it's running from January up to June. Of course, you have quarter 1, quarter 2 running up to June, and the rest of the period and quarters are blank. So these are the kind of data frames that we have before we do any formatting. So we've just done the printing of this data frame. The way we were saying, we are starting from row 0 or row 3 and all that. So now it's when we need to do the formatting. So from there, after printing our data frame to Excel, so let's now continue with the formatting. So first, what we are trying to do here is to write the data frames to the Excel. So now down here we are saying we need to write these data frames to Excel, but first we need to identify the workbook and the sheets. So here the workbook here will be we are saying workbook is equal to writer.book and then worksheet 1. So worksheet 1 is for P&L. So worksheet 1 is equal to writer.sheet, then P&L. So we are naming the workbook. So like now, if I change this one to, let me try to change it to P&L relative. Then I run this code. You'll see what we have as the naming of that sheet for P&L cumulative. So the period is period 6. Financial year is 2017. So I need to close this one first before we write on it. So again, I will run this code. It's a bit slow when it comes to printing the data frame. So this one is 6. Let me use 7. 2017. So now let's see what we have. Worksheet 1 is equal to worksheet. Error P&L cumulative is giving us an error. Let me see what I'm supposed to use. Let me underscore, then come up here. Maybe I did not change. So this one I need to change to cumulative as well. Cumulative. This one is also cumulative. P&L, P&L underscore cumulative. So that one should work. Let me come down and see if it is the exact writing. So let me run this code again, see what we have. $17. Now let's see what we have as financials. I will open this Excel workbook. So now you can see we have P&L cumulative. So that's how to write, name the Excel workbooks using Excel writer in Python. So let's continue with the formatting. So after naming the Excel sheets, now we need to do the formatting. But before then, we also need to name the sheets for both schedules for P&L and the schedules for cash flow and balance sheet. So this is the same principle that we have applied up here, is what we are trying to apply when naming these sheets for P&L and rather these scheduled sheets for P&L and cash flow and balance sheet. Then from there, now we can apply we can do the logo format. So let me uncomment these ones for rather these codes for logo, the logo format and other formats. So here we are starting with we are starting by saying that logo format 1. So we want to create the format for the logo. So the logo here is it should be the company, the XYZ company name. We are saying logo 1 is equal to workbook.add. So we are adding format. So we are saying font size is 14. Color is white. Background color is this code. And then bottom is 1. Bottom 1 to mean that we are trying to underline the rows, or rather the cells within a particular row with 1. The magnitude is 1 or the density is 1. And then we are aligning values to the left, and then bold is true. So it means that when you apply this format to a given row, we'll have values within that row as bold. Then we also have header format. So header format is equal to workbook.add. Then bottom is 2. So the density of the underlining line is 2. Background color is this code. Bold is true. Color is white. Font size is 10. Then we are aligning the values to the center. So this is header format. So the header format, we are talking about the header here, where we have the ledger and of course where we have these particulars ledger annex and all that. So these are what we are trying to consider as the header formats. So again, we also have merger format. So merger format, we are talking about this merged cells. You can see particulars has taken 2 columns, and then we also have current year has taken about 4 columns. We have difference in actual versus budget has taken 2 columns, and then we have previous year is also taking 3 columns. So when we talk about merger column, we're talking about that format that will come and merge these columns. So let's move on. So header format, rather merger format, is equal to workbook.add. So bold is 2, border is 2, alignment is center, vertical alignment is v-center, background color is this code, then color is equal to white. So the color is equal to white. This one is the font color, and the background color is the background color as it says. Then down here we're seeing that for column value in enumerate, in bracket column p&l dot columns dot values, worksheet 1 dot write. So in short, here now you're trying to apply the formattings, and then the application of the formatting is being applied within these objects. So the column value is being put within as an object, and then we are applying the formatting one. So we are saying that for column column underscore number, then value in enumerate, in bracket column name underscore p&l dot columns, then dot values. So the values within the columns, we want to apply the format for format 1, the logo format. So we'll start from row 0, then we apply to the columns, and the values within those columns we apply the logo 1 format. So we have done the same for this other worksheets. We still have worksheet 1 where we are trying to apply the merge range. Then we are apply also the merge format. So the merge range here is we are merging from A3 to B3. So for worksheet 1, then this one is for particulars. So we are naming that after merging those this range of cells, we are naming those merged range of cells as particulars. Then we are applying the merger format. So the merger format has been done up here. So the same applies to this other range of cells where we apply the merger format. And then this was meant for P&L underscore, rather P&L, so rather level 10 P&L F level 10 now itd. Then when we come down here again, we are doing for company name underscore monthly P&L, and then we are applying the logo format as well, and then we are also applying the header format. So this has been applied to all the worksheets from worksheet 1 up to worksheet 23, where we are applying different formats. It could be a header format, logo format, depending on the worksheet. And then from there, now let me try to print and see what we have applied as the header and the logo format. So let me just try to run this code again. We see what we have. But before then, let me try to close that workbook. So we'll run that code again. So the period number is let me use 4. Then the financial year is 2017. And now let's see what we have as financials. So now you can see what we have as the header format and the logo 1 format. So the logo is what I'm calling the XYZ company. That's what we've applied the logo format to. So now let me try to expand these columns. So this is what we have, but without the underlining of anything on these other rows. The same has been applied to this other Excel sheets. So those are the two formats that we've applied to our data frames. So let's go back again and see what we have. So now let me try to close this other one not to confuse us. I will close that. So I will also close this one again. So So let's continue with the formatting. So now we are moving to adding number format for cells within numerical values. For cells with the numerical values, so we want to add the number format. So the number format here we have, we are calling it money format. So we have money format 1 and money format 2, and then we also have text format and schedule format. So we are saying that money format 1 is equal to workbook.adds, alignment is right, number format, so we want this style of format where we have commas and then we have 2 decimal places, and then bold is true, then the font size is 10. So we also have money format 2. Money format 2, we have number format, which is this one here, and then we also have font size as 10. Font size is 10, the bold is false, so this one will not apply bold format on that variable bold format 2. And then we also have text format. So text format, we are trying only to align the values to the left, and the font size is 10. Then we also have the schedule format. So now the schedule format will apply to all the schedules from A1 to S12. And then here we are aligning values to the left, and font size is 10. Then from there again we also have these other formats. So the formats here we have text format, money format for P&L YTD, P&L monthly, balance sheet, and cash flow. So we are applying the format to this major financial statement. So let me just type and comment all. So the money format here we are applying to start. First we are saying that workbook 1.set column. So AA1 is where we have the particulars, and under AA1 we are, this 22 is to mean the width of that column, and then we are applying the text format. So we have worksheet 1 up to worksheet 4, and again within that worksheet 1 up to worksheet 4 where we have P&L, cash flow, balance sheet, and monthly P&L. Now we are applying the money format. The money format we are applying from C to K. So C to K here means that the column C up to K. So let me just take you back to the Excel. We closed the Excel. So let me just explain, then I will print and we see what we have. So again now worksheet 2, the money format here is from B to R. So this is where we have the numerical values from column B to column R. The same applies to where we have worksheet 2, worksheet 3. Worksheet 3 is for the balance sheet. So we are formatting the values from column C to column E. And the same applies to worksheet 4 where we have the cash flow. So we'll format the columns from C to D. Then the width of the values will be, rather the width of the columns will be 14. And then we also have money format 2, which is being applied to worksheet 1. We are applying it from BB, column B. And then the same applies to worksheet 3. We apply to worksheet 3 and worksheet 4. We are applying schedule format, and then the width of the column is 5, and the columns are under B. Then now we are applying the formats again to these schedules where we have these columns where we have from A to B, and the width is 22. Then we are applying text format. When it comes to money format, applying the format from column C to column L, then the width is 12. And when we go to schedule formats for balance sheet and cash flow, So we are applying the text format within column A to column B, and the width is 18. Then we apply the text format, and when we go to this other money format, we are applying from worksheet 12 to worksheet 23, and the column is C up to L, the width is 12. Then the money format. So let me just try to print this, see what we have after formatting the rows, rather the rows within the columns, or the columns within the rows. So this one is 5, and this one is 2017. Then from there, let's print the Excel workbook to see what we have. So after formatting, this is what we have now. So now we don't have the frozen columns, and then P and L, this is what we have. When you come, you can see what we have. So this one was the text formatting and the number formatting, but now we've not applied the formatting where we have the underlining of the major row items. So let's move on with formatting. We see what we have next. So I'll close this workbook again, then I'll take you back to where we are doing our code. So again, I will uncomment these other formats, format 1 up to format 4. So first we are trying to come up with the formatting style. So where we have format 1 up to format 4. So we are saying that format 1 is equal to workbook.add format. So bold is true, bottom is 2, top is 1, background color is this code. And then format 2 we have bold is true, top is 1. Format 3 we have bold is true, bottom is 2. And then format 4 we have bold is true, the number format, this is the value that we have. So after having the formatting values or formatting style, now we need to apply the formatting style to our data frames. So let me just write one comment. So first we are trying to add the format to the company name, then to level 10 underscore P&L. So this is P&L YTD, and then we also have P&L P&L monthly, then we also have P&L YTD. So this is just for P&L and P&L YTD and P&L monthly. So first, what we are trying to say here, let me just try to explain what we have as the indirects. We are saying that worksheet.conditional format. So we are applying conditional formatting. So what we have done here, or rather what we have up here as what we have as A1 to rather A1, yes, this is an absolute reference. So we are starting to reference from A1, and then we are going to K, then K. So it's K len company name plus 1. So the len of the company is just the length of the rows of this data frame that we have for the company, and the len for this company name underscore P&L is 1. You only have one row for this company name. Then so we want to format from row 1. So row 1, when you come to this, let me just go to Excel. So when I come up here, let me try to select all. I'll move up. So this is row 1. but within our data frame, the len of that company name is 1 row, and within that data frame we have index. So the index is starting from index 0. So I'm talking about the indexing of the rows. The indexing of data frame start from 0, 1, 2 as we move on. So when you see here, I'm trying to add len capital, rather len company name plus 1. So we are adding 1 such that when we try to format, the formatting will start from where the company name is. So let me try to print first. Let me try to comment. Let me try to comment this first. Then I will print the data frame and I explain. So I will run this code. And I will use period. Let me use period 5. And the financial year is 2017. So let's print the workbook. So now this is what we have. So I want to explain what I mean by len what, and then company name. Then we add 1. Just a moment. So here you are saying line company name. Let me uncomment now. There should be a comment here, and this one will, this other one. Okay, so we are saying that worksheet 1 dot conditional format A1 colon, then we have K. So we are adding format from column where we have A1. So A1 to mean let me just try to say that A1 is here. This is A1. So A1 means that the row is 1 and the column is A1. Then we are going to where we have K, and K is here. So the column K is here, and then we are saying that len company plus 1. So the length of this company name is 1 because we only have 1 row, which is this one here. And then within that data frame, before it is printed, it start indexing from 0. So when starting indexing from 0, we need to add 1 such that when we format the value that you want to format. So the value that you want to format here, for example, is P&L statement for period. So P&L statement for period is this value here. So this is what we want to format. And since the data frame is starting indexing from 0, so when we say the row was 1, and then the length of the data frame is 1, meaning 1 row. So when we add 1 to that length of the data frame, it means that it will be 2. So from 2 is where we'll start formatting. The formatting will be started from row 2, as opposed to when we leave it as length of the data frame without adding 1, or we just add 0. So let me try to add 0 here. We see what we'll have. So let me add 0. Then now I want to add that this data frame. Rather, I want to run it, but before I run, let me try to explain these other codes. So in this the subsequent codes we are talking about, rather we are saying that the type is formula. So the formula here is just the formatting. The formatting is a formula. Then the criteria is just to specify what we want to format. So I'll urge you to go and check on how we use the function indirect within Excel. But if I'll try to explain indirect here, it will mean that indirect A is the column and row to mean which row do we want to apply the formatting. And then with this row, we need to specify the cell that we want to, the cell that we are trying to reference. Indirect and row is equal to P and L. So in short, we are trying to run our code within that dynamic data frame. So where we get the P and L statement, we'll apply the format. So that's why we are trying to leave this this row blank. It is blank because we are dealing with dynamic data frame. So we'll just run this code. So the code will search where we have P and L statement for period within that data frame. Then the format will be applied. So let me run this code. We see, so the same principle has been applied on these other codes where we have len level 10 underscore P and L M. So this is monthly P and L. Then we are adding 4. We are adding 4 because the data frame, we are starting from the company name data frame, which has one row. It has one row. So when we add 4, it means that we'll start from row 5. So let me show you from here. This one is here. So when we add 4, we'll start formatting from this row. So we are adding the length of all these data frames. So the length of the data frame is the number of rows we have for this data frame. This is the length from 4 up to 28. Then we are adding 4 to cater for these other values where we have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 to mean that initially we had 0. So when we add 4, we'll start counting from 1. Then the same applies to other formatting that we are doing. So the first one here, this one was meant for the P and L monthly, and then P and L YTD. So we have P and L level 10. We have level 10 underscore P and L. Then we also have level 10 underscore P and L M to mean monthly. The other one is for cumulative. So let me print and we see what we have. So I deliberately added 0 here instead of adding 1 so that we can see what will happen when we print. So let me run this code again. But before, let me close this. So we'll use the period as and use period 5. Then the financial year is 2017. And print. Now I can see what we have on the P and L. Let me see the code. I added plus 0. So this is what we have. This was company name. So in short, there was no formatting done on this company statement for P&L. So what formatting did we apply? We applied format 4. Format 4 is here. So this was what I've applied. Format 4. So format 4 has not been applied after adding a 0, but again the format 4 has been overtaken by the initial formats that we had for number formats. So if you check here, we had the number formats up here, rather the money formats. So the money formats have overtaken this other format, format 4. But now let me try to add 0 here again on this. On the second coding for formatting P&L. So let me run this code again, but I will close this one first. So I will come here again and run this code. Just wanted to see the difference. So this is P&L monthly. So let's open these financials again. So let's check on monthly because it was applied here. So this is what we have monthly. You see nothing has been done. No formatting has been done in terms of the lines, because I was trying to apply format 4, because the length of the data frame is this length. So when I add that 4, let me just go back and add 4. Let me add 4. But before I add 4, let's check about the format was all about what? Format 1. Format 1, you're saying bold. 2, top is 1. Background color is that code. So when you check here where we have bottom is 1, there's no place where we have the values have been underlined to show that bottom is 1. So that code does not work because we did not add this value called 4. So let's add 4. So this was 1, and again you can as well apply this code again. I will close this. So here is 6 2017. Then we run that code again. After printing, let's run this. Open the Excel Workbook financials. So now you can see the difference. There's an underline down here for for that P&L monthly. Initially this black line was not there, but now it is there. So let's continue with the other coding. So what we do here again, I will so the same principle that we applied is the same principle that I will apply to these other formats. So what we have down here is P and L again, P and L. P and L monthly. So now we are trying to apply format 2. So we are adding 3 to cater for the company title, the title name. So that's why we are adding 3 to the length of that data frame. So again, let me try to uncomment this other line of code. So this is meant for a balance sheet. Again, now we have these other ones for worksheet 4. This one is for cash flow. And then now lastly we have for the schedules from A1 to S12. Same principle has been applied. So I will run this code again. I have an error somewhere. Oh, I move on. Let me see where the error is. 3474. 34. It's never closed. Okay. Still have another error. Let me check where the error is. $34.90. Okay, the error has disappeared. So what we do now, I need to run this code again. Now we see what we have as after formatting, but before then let me close this. So here we have 7 is 2017. And let's open these financials. So now when you check, we'll see we have the coding for the lines are now present in all our data frames or all our Excel sheets. Same applies to this, applies to that. And again, now we can also now compare cash flow, ending cash balances with what we have within our balance sheet. So I will take this value here minus what we have within our balance sheet minus these two values. So we have roughly 0.01, but it's okay. Difference of 0.01, that is ineligible. And then what else? So let me close this Excel workbook again, then let's continue. We finish. So down here, what we are trying to do again now, we are trying to freeze the pane. So freezing the pane, I know you understand what we mean by freezing the pane. Is what we normally do in Excel. So we want to freeze the pane from row 4 and column 2. So let's run the code again and see what we have. So let me pick 12 and 2017. So let me print financials again. So now you can see we can move the pens up and down, and then we can also move horizontally. So that's all about freezing the pen. The same has been applied on this other Excel workbook. And then let's try to check the accuracy of our ending cash balance. But before then, let's see if we have ending balances of the balance sheet. So this one is tying with this. So the balance sheet is okay. What about the cash flow? So let's see about the ending cash balance. So this minus what we have within our balance sheet minus this. So we have 0, 0, that is correct. So even if we try a different period, let's again try a different period, we see if our cash balances are tying from cash flow to balance sheet. So that is period 8 of 2017. Then let's print the financials. So again, we can see what we have. The ending, this is the total last year. We have this value as PPT. These are the differences. Period last year is not there because we are dealing with the August 2017, but 2016 August did not have the values, so we have 0, 0 values. And then when we come here to monthly, we are running it up to August, so we have quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3. Remember, quarter 3 is running up to August, so we have September, October up to November, December. Quarter 4, we have 0 values. Then when we go to the balance sheet, we have these values tying again, and then we also have our cash balances, cash in hand and bank balance. Let's compare the two. So I'll take this value minus this value again, so 0.01 uneligible. So the assumption here is it's balancing. So let's do a test again to check and the values are not tying. So first I want to run the financials for the period of year 2018 January. So this is 1, and then here is 2018. And let's print the financials again. Not what I want. So we have January 2018. So when you check up, you can see we have this one as has been formatted. So the formatting for this title, company title, has been overtaken by the formatting for these other data frames. So that's why you are seeing that we have 2018, because within this column, the formatting within this column is paramount to the formatting of the company title. So when we come here again, I can see what we have. This is 2018 monthly, it was up to January. And then when you come here, you can now see the differences, period difference, YTD difference. Previous year we also have, and then we also have the current actual figures. Oh, this one is for 2018 as of January. When you check on the budget, we did not have the budget for the period 2018, we had for 2017. So again, when you check on the balance sheet, so this is what we have as closing balances of the cash flow, cash in hand and cash at bank. And down here you can see the figures are tying. And then when you come to cash flow again, we need to compare the values. So when you check here, 5282, so this was the closing balance for the period 2018. So let's see what we have. The cash balance for period 2018. So this was the total figure. So you want to take this minus this, so the figure is tying. Then again, let's take for the current financial year, minus what we have in the balance sheet. We want to minus this one, this minus this. So the figure is 00, so meaning that our ending cash balance is okay as compared to what we have within our balance sheet. So let's try again, do another test. So these are the schedules. So when you come to schedule 12, we are being told to see PP schedule. So PP schedule is always being prepared separately and comprehensively. So here we don't have figures, so we need to have a separate PP. So this one just a reference to where we have a PP schedule. But I want to do another test. The test that I want to do, I will come here and I want to change a value here. Let me change this value for capital. I want to add 2000. Adding 2000. Then I will save. Then I will close this at the Excel workbook. And let's run this code again. So you want to check if the balance sheet will not tie. So here we'll say this is let me do 20, or let me do period 4, then 2017. The difference should be that difference of 2000. So I will check where we have the balance sheet. If yes, this is what we wanted to see. So we are being told check the variance for this 2000 that we just added. So it means that even our trial balance is not tying. So this will be shown where the value is more than 0.05 or less than 0.05. So we are done a code on the same to check the variance on the balance sheet. So that was all for formatting our P&L, rather formatting our financials using Excel Writer. So let me restore back what we had here. So again, I will save. So again, if I print this financial, that difference should be seen within the printout, the difference that we are seeing here. So I will go to balance sheet, and that difference should be printed out as well. That's P&L. Balance sheets, you can see down here we're being told to check variance. So there's a problem with our variance. There's a problem with our balance sheet when you don't tie the trial balance correctly. So that was all about formatting the financials. So when we come back in our next video, we'll see how we can put the coding that we've done for financials within an application such that you can log in and log out and key in the period number and run your financial figures. So let me just try to give you a glimpse of what I'm talking about, which we'll do in our next video. So I want to run this GUI.py. So this is the coding that I've done earlier. So I will run this GUI app, the GUI code. So this is a different code that I'm trying to run to show you that to show you a glimpse of what you're supposed to do in our next video. So this is an app. We've put I've tried to put that code within an app such that you can register, you can log in after registering. So for example, here I can click on register. So I want to register. Let me call this one. Let me register Fabian, and then password is 2121. Let me use 3131. Then register. So we are being told we've registered successfully. So after registration, just a moment. Registration, if I try to register again, I will be told the account already exists. Okay. So after registering, I can close this window. Then now I can log in. So I'll log in with Fabian. And the password was 3131. Then I'll log in. So if I forget about the password, let me try to log in again. Let me say this is Fabian. Then let me try to log in with 2121. The password incorrect, I cannot log in. But if I forget about the password, I'll click on this button for forget password. So username should be Fabian. I must know the username. Then now the new password I can try to use now 4545. Then 4545. So I'm resetting the password. Reset. This was the initial logging in where the password was incorrect. So now I can change the password again. So the password is now 4545. Then I will log in. Logging in, I can reset. I can put my financials. So financial year is rather can run the financial by putting the financial year as 2017. Then here I will enter the period number. Maybe let me say 12. Before I run, let me try to close this other workbook. So here I will run the financials and see the financial year is 2017, the period number is 12. But now I need to get to the financials. So this way again I will show you what we are supposed to do, not to come to where we have the hard code to run your financials, to get your financials up running. So I will click on this financial automation. I will come down and check where I've saved my financials under statement, the name called statement. So I will look for where we have statement. So it is here. Then I can open my financials. So you can see the period is running up to December. And the monthly figures also we have here. And then we have our balance sheet. We have our cash flow. And the balances are still tying, but we can confirm. Minus what we have in sheet, this minus this. So the figures are correct, and then of course we have the schedules. So you can see we have an X here to reference the schedules, and then we also have this other schedule column for balance sheet, and then as well for the cash flow. Then you can also see we have the headings, current liabilities and all that. We also have the same in our balance sheet, current assets here, current liabilities, fixed assets, current liabilities and all that. So that was all about showing you what you need to do in our next video. So we'll try to put this code within an app, and then we'll try to make it a mobile application that you don't need to going to that hard code and open the financials after running them. I just run them within the app, and then within that app you will get your financials. So that was all for today. So thanks a lot for watching, and those of you who have not subscribed, please do. And if you have, please give yourselves a thumbs up. Thanks a lot for your support, and do please share your comments and share with your friends so that you can learn together. So thanks a lot for watching, and let's meet again on the next video.